Every room you walk into is voting on who you become. Your kitchen layout decides what you eat. Your desk setup decides how long you focus. Your friend group decides what you believe is normal. And by the end of this, you'll understand why rearranging your surroundings will do more for you than any amount of discipline ever could. Think about the last time you tried to build a new habit. Maybe you wanted to work out more, eat cleaner, read before bed instead of scrolling. You had the motivation, you had the plan, and within 2 weeks, you were back to the old pattern, wondering what was wrong with you. The answer had nothing to do with you, it had everything to do with the room you were sitting in. In the early 2000s, researchers at Cornell ran an experiment with soup bowls. Some bowls were normal, others were secretly rigged to refill from the bottom as people ate. The people with the refilling bowls consumed over 70% more soup. When asked, they swore they'd eaten the same amount as everyone else. They felt the same level of fullness. Their eyes told them the bowl was still half full, so they kept going. The spoon kept moving because the environment kept saying more. That's your life, scaled up, running in the background of every decision you think you're making freely. You've probably blamed yourself for checking your phone too much, for snacking late at night, for procrastinating on work that matters, and each time you try to solve it with willpower. More discipline, more self-control, more gritting your teeth and trying harder. Meanwhile, the phone was sitting face up on your desk, glowing with notifications. The snacks were on the counter at eye level. The work was buried behind 6 clicks and a loading screen. You were fighting gravity with a motivational quote. Here's what makes this so hard to see. Willpower feels like it should work because you experience it as a choice. I chose to eat the cookie. I chose to skip the gym. The language of choice is baked into how we talk about behavior. But researchers who study decision-making have found something that cuts against this intuition. The majority of your daily actions aren't choices at all. They're automatic responses to environmental cues. The doorway you walk through, the chair you sit in, the people sitting next to you, each one triggers a cascade of behavior you never consciously approved. A study out of Duke estimated that around 40% of daily actions are habitual. They happen on autopilot, triggered by context. Change the context, the autopilot changes course. So why do we keep focusing on willpower? Because it flatters us. The idea that you can muscle through anything with enough determination makes for a great movie montage. Rocky running up the stairs, the underdog studying by candlelight. We love this story because it puts the hero at the center. You are the hero, your will is the weapon. But willpower is a resource that depletes. By mid-afternoon, after a day of resisting distractions and making decisions, you have measurably less of it than you did at breakfast. You're trying to run a marathon on a battery that dies by lunch. Now consider someone who seems impossibly disciplined. They wake up early. They exercise daily. They eat well. They read. You look at them and think, they must have iron willpower. Look closer. Their running shoes are by the door. Their gym is a 5-minute walk. Their fridge is stocked on Sundays with meals already prepped. Their phone charges in another room overnight. They built a track, and now they're just running on it. The difference between you and that person is probably about 14 architectural decisions. Where the phone sleeps, what's visible on the kitchen counter, which app opens when they pick up their laptop, whether the gym requires a 20-minute drive or a walk downstairs. You've seen this work in reverse too. Think about a time you stayed at someone else's house. Your routines collapsed almost immediately. You slept differently. You ate differently. You reached for your phone at odd times because your usual cues were gone and new ones took their place. A week in a different environment and you barely recognized your own behavior. That's information. Your habits are less about who you are and more about where you are. This creates an uncomfortable question. If your environment shapes your behavior this powerfully, how many of the things you call personality traits are actually just geography? Kurt Lewin, one of the founders of social psychology, proposed a formula back in the 1930s. Behavior is a function of the person and the environment. Both matter. But we consistently overweight the person and underweight the environment. Psychologists call this the fundamental attribution error. When someone else cuts you off in traffic, they're a reckless driver. When you do it, you are late for something important. You judge others by their character and yourself by your circumstances. The irony is that circumstances are driving both of you more than either character is. A practical example. Researchers studying organ donation rates across Europe found staggering differences between countries with nearly identical cultures. In Germany, about 12% of people were organ donors. In Austria, right next door, the rate was over 90 to 1,009%. The values, the education levels, the healthcare systems, all comparable. The difference was one line on a form. Germany required you to opt in. Austria required you to opt out. The default setting, a single checkbox, was more powerful than culture, religion, education, and personal values combined. One checkbox. That's how thin the line is between the person you are and the person you could be. So what do you actually do with this? You become an architect. You stop trying to be a better person inside a badly designed environment and start building a space that makes the right behavior easier than the wrong one. Start with friction. Every behavior has a friction cost. The number of steps between you and the action. Want to scroll less? Add steps. Log out of apps. Move them off the home screen. Put the phone in a drawer. Each step is a speed bump, and speed bumps work because they interrupt autopilot before it takes over. Want to read more? Put the book on your pillow, literally on the pillow, so you have to pick it up before you can lie down. That single move has converted more non-readers than any reading challenge ever designed. The reverse works too. Remove friction from the behaviors you want. Lay out workout clothes the night before. Keep a water bottle on your desk. Set your writing document to open automatically when your laptop boots. You're building a conveyor belt that moves you toward the action before your brain has time to negotiate. The people in your life are environment too. This one stings, but it's worth sitting with. You absorb the norms of whoever you spend the most time with. Their spending habits influence yours. Their fitness level pulls you toward theirs. Their ambitions set your ceiling. If everyone around you thinks watching 4 hours of television after work is normal, your brain files it as normal. You'll do it without a second thought, and you'll feel odd on the nights you don't. Here's where honesty matters. Some environments are chosen and some are imposed. If you're working 2 jobs to pay rent, you can't just redesign your environment like a lifestyle blogger rearranging a home office. Structural constraints are real. Poverty is an environment. A dangerous neighborhood is an environment. An abusive household is an environment. And no amount of moving your phone to another room fixes those. What you can influence, though, even inside tight constraints, is the micro-environment. The 3 square feet around you. The first thing you see when you wake up, the playlist that plays when you start work, the one friend you text when you need to think clearly. Small architecture inside a structure you didn't choose. It matters because the brain responds to cues at every scale. A sticky note on a bathroom mirror is a cue. A photo on a desk is a cue. The right cues in the right places can redirect your afternoon even when you can't redirect your life. Yet, there's a deeper shift underneath all of this. When you stop relying on willpower and start shaping your environment, you stop seeing failure as a character flaw. That's freedom, because every time you broke a diet, skipped a workout, or wasted an evening, the voice in your head said the same thing. What's wrong with me? The answer, almost every time, was nothing. The soup bowl was rigged. The room was designed against you, and you were spending all your energy trying to resist the current instead of redirecting the river. You've watched someone move to a new city and come back 6 months later as a different person. Different interests, different energy, different vocabulary. You probably chalked it up to growth or finding themselves. What actually happened was simpler and more powerful. New rooms, new defaults, new people setting new norms. The change felt internal because it happened gradually, but the trigger was external, always external. So tonight, before you go to sleep, look around the room you spend the most time in. Ask one question. Is this room designed for the person I want to become, or the person I'm trying to stop being? Move one thing, just one. The phone charger to another room, the book to the pillow, the junk food behind a closed cabinet, the running shoes to the front door. One architectural decision, because the version of you that you keep waiting for, more focused, more consistent, more alive, is already possible. That person lives about 14 small changes away, and every single one of them is a piece of furniture.